All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good crypto news stuff for you today. And the first thing that I want to talk about is that Bakkt warehouse opens this September 6th. So this news came out a few days ago, but I was kind of busy with the Wright news as he can't seem to stay out of the crypto news lately. But that means that the Bakkt exchange has been given the green light to operate a futures market with physical delivery, which doesn't make much sense. It's digital delivery, but still, I get it. And we'll start accumulating coins in its custodial storage. So September 6th is when they start actually accumulating the coins in said custodial storage. The actual futures doesn't open until September 23rd. So the Bakkt warehouse custodial service will be open for deposits from September 6th. Announced the Bakkt market operator after being given the regulatory green light to start wider trading from September 23rd. The market operators plan to open wallets for its secure custody of Bitcoin. So Bakkt futures, again, in case anybody doesn't know, it's the futures market that has been a fairy tale as of recently. For quite a long time, it was supposed to come out in like December and then January, and then they're like, it's probably going to be February, and now it's going to be September. And it's a physical Bitcoin futures instead of like CME, where it's just sort of paper futures. So now CME futures is just paper futures. It's just fiat. You put in fiat, you get fiat by basically betting on the price of Bitcoin. That's all it is essentially gambling. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that, whales or something like that could essentially manipulate the market downwards or upwards in order to satisfy the futures prices. So it could still have a huge effect, and likely it did, as in December 2017, CME and CBOE futures came out like December 17th, and then the price tanked on December 18th, literally the next day. So there definitely is some manipulation going on, and CME is to blame to some degree. As well, the price was nearly at $20,000, and all of a sudden futures markets comes out. It's probably a good time to start selling off your Bitcoin and also bet on the bottom price at the same time, right? Well, on September 6th, our warehouse will begin offering secure storage of customer Bitcoin to prepare for the launch of Bakkt Bitcoin daily and monthly futures when they launch on September 23rd. These contracts will enable physical delivery of Bitcoin with end-to-end regulated markets and custody. So one might think, hey, this could raise the price of Bitcoin. With, maybe a bunch of institutions buying Bitcoin and then putting it in the warehouse in preparation for the futures on September 23rd. But in fact, it did quite the opposite, and it makes a lot of sense that there would probably be some dumping before buying in order to actually put this on the custody exchange, which you'd figure it'd go back up in price. However, manipulation is probably going to be a thing. The Bakkt physical delivery after expiration of futures may be the first instance of fully regulated cryptocurrency transaction. The launch of Bakkt exchange has helped boost the expectations for a Bitcoin price rally. However, the most recent announcement coincided with Bitcoin prices down from 10,200 to under 9,600. Holding Bitcoin has multiple complications. It's unknown how Bakkt would oversee the transactions. In its 10-year history, Bitcoin has acquired a history of scams and illegal uses, which so is fiat. At least a part of the addresses in coins have been tainted, and Bakkt will face the challenge of Bitcoin used by dark market participants or even, terrorists. There's always the possibility of buying brand new Bitcoin from miners which do not have a transaction history related to illegal activities. And, it's always really silly when these institutions and political bigwigs and stuff talk about how, not tainted Bitcoin by the dark market participants or even terrorists. But, you might have money in your bank account or wallet, or there might be in a bank where it was used for all kinds of illegal transactions. Likely, it probably was. Even that Steve Mnuchin fella, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, was like, I don't think fiat money has ever been used successfully in money laundering. So that just goes to show that I feel like Bitcoin is probably used very, very little by actual dark market participants or even terrorists, as opposed to fiat money. Probably not even close. Maybe on the dark market, just because they're like the because the internet. But still, not even close. Bakkt will launch its daily and monthly Bitcoin futures at a time when the lending coin dominates the markets to become a leading source of growth for 2019. One person says investment banks can't can start trading Bitcoin futures in 27 days time when Bakkt launches. The banks don't want to pay for 10K for a Bitcoin. I believe they'll knock the price down by at least 20% in the next week or so. This will be a fantastic buying opportunity. Be ready, hodl. Mr. Gordon at Mr. Gordon UK on Twitter. Well, you, sir, were almost entirely correct. I don't think it went down by 20%, but close to it, as it was 10,600, 500 or so, and went down to 96, 9,500. So kind of, I mean, slightly half that, but pretty correct on that one. For them to actually start buying in to put this on here. Now, this is going to be interesting because Bakkt is going to have a lot of coin outside of the circulation in order to pay people out. And people are going to have to put coin onto the Bakkt exchange in order to participate in futures. So this is actual real Bitcoin going around, so I don't think it's going to be as big as everyone thinks it's going to be, but it's definitely going to take some demand, it's definitely going to make increased demand in the market with people buying it and and Bakkt actually having to deliver it out. But so that's going to be September 23rd when that actually starts. So we'll have to see how that actually affects the market starting September 23rd or so. So, moving on here, Kleiman files Craig Wright controversy gets complicated. I could talk. So, I made a video the other day talking about how Craig Wright had essentially lost the court case, owes 500,000 Bitcoin. Now, the court case isn't entirely over. There's still some discovery to go about here, as, well, they still don't have the private keys. They still don't actually have the Bitcoin, as Craig Wright can essentially say, I can't access the Bitcoin. He claims that the keys were broken up into some 15 or so parts, and they need at least 8 of them or 9 of them, something along those lines, in order to access all of these magic public keys that he just randomly pulled and was like, those are mine. And I don't even know why he did that in court, because he could just say, well, why don't you prove that I have 1.1 million Bitcoin? I mean, that's not my job to prove that. That's your job. You say I owe you 500,000 Bitcoin. Prove that I have 1.1 million. So Craig Wright went ahead and proved it himself, apparently, which he just grabbed random public keys, which literally anybody could do. I could go around and grab enough public keys from back in the day that would equal 1 million, but that doesn't mean that they're mine. So again, most confusing court case ever. So the presiding judge, Bruce Reinhardt, concluded the latest hearing by ordering Wright to surrender more than $4 billion of cryptocurrency in favor of Kleiman's estate. The asset in question comprised of a whopping 500,000 Bitcoin, as well as half of all the intellectual property that has ever been created by Wright. Moreover, Wright has been ordered by Judge Reinhardt to turn over documents in which it is claimed that he has unlawfully seized digital assets from Kleiman. Now remains to see whether Wright is able to actually comply with that order and actually deliver the Bitcoin to Kleiman's estate, whether he has them or not, or whether he can actually access them or not. Nobody knows. There is a doubt that arises here because Wright has stated in his latest testimony that he's not aware of where the crypto in question is being stored, nor is he absolutely sure if he has any access to any of these external digital storage entities, because, Bitcoin, why not? So Wright hasn't officially lost the case. I mean, he has to... Basically, he's been ordered to give up the 500,000 Bitcoin, but it's not quite over. The court is going to go on a little bit longer, and he essentially lost all right to defend himself, and now they're sort of trying to see if they can actually get this Bitcoin from him. Which, again, you have to reiterate it every single time you start talking about this case, that does he even have 1 million Bitcoin? Does he even have access to 1 million Bitcoin? He has like 8 of the private keys, so apparently he split up the private keys with an algorithm, with a program that is able to split up private keys like cryptographically, and you can have multiple people hold on to it, which is a thing. And supposedly he has like 8 of them, and he needs 1 more of them, and that Kleiman gave them to somebody else, and that Kleiman's dead, so he doesn't have access to them. Maybe they're on his hard drives that are encrypted. Who knows? But quite a coincidental and convenient story, to be totally honest. So Wright's been claiming a long time that he's Satoshi, the pseudo-anonymous creator of Bitcoin. In recent times, when called a fraud, Wright has resorted to suing all those who disagree with the notion, and he immediately lost that case with Roger Ver. In addition to this, a number of established crypto experts and enthusiasts seem to be of the opinion of Wright's recent submission of false documents to the Florida court could be the final straw as far as I am Satoshi claims go. Cointelegraph reached out to Craig Russo, a crypto investor and owner of Appear, a Boston-based startup, To get a better understanding of the matter, Russo believes that Wright needs to provide more tangible evidence in order to support his outlandish claims, saying the false documents definitely don't help his credibility. I think the mystery of exactly who exactly made up Satoshi will continue to unravel in the future. And there's no doubt that he is a polarizing individual, and it may simply be the result of his intelligence. Many highly intelligent people have difficulty interacting in a positive way with everyone else, but should people believe him just because he says so? No, absolutely not. That's not a thing. So the courts ruled that Ira inherited those billions. Now he has to pay the estate tax on that if he wants them. So if he does get them, he's going to have to pay that estate tax, which is going to be a lot of money. So he's going to have to sell the Bitcoin. I mean, estate tax on $5 billion is going to be something pretty brutal. I don't know what estate tax is in Florida. It could be like 10%. I don't even know. But it's going to be a lot. Even 1% of $5 billion is going to be a lot. It's going to have to sell them. As a result of these recent developments, the market at large is now replete with FUD relating to an impending market crash that might happen because of BTC being liquidated or moved around. Cointelegraph has reached out to Crypto Yoda, the independent trader with over 200K followers in regard to the matter. He stated that it's highly doubtful that Wright really has access to the legacy coin, so all of the lingering concerns regarding a potential sell-off can be set aside for the time being. Exactly what I would say as well. So, yeah, really confusing case. Does he have the crypto? Does he not? Does he have the private keys to it? Is he going to actually give these up? I don't know. It's hard to say. Now, you could say that, hey, maybe the courts could just be like, okay, well, instead of owing him 500,000 BTC, you just owe him $5 billion. So you have to essentially go bankrupt, sell everything, sell off everything you have, all your holdings of BSV, the things that you got going on with Calvin Ayre, who's a really weird guy, and stop what you're doing with your alleged LaRue and or Kleiman hard drive decrypting, which is probably physically impossible to do even with a gigantic server farm or something. I don't know if that's even true, but that could be the case too, because the market could soon be flooded with billions of dollars of Bitcoin, and who knows. But I just don't think I don't even think the Bitcoin exists. I don't think it exists. I think he just pulled up a bunch of public keys. Maybe they did mine 1 million Bitcoin, but who knows? One of the most confusing cases. There's no evidence any way, shape, or form. There's no evidence that he's Satoshi or not Satoshi. There's actually a lot of evidence he's not Satoshi. There's no evidence that he has the Bitcoin, yada, yada. But moving on here, interesting story. Capital One hacker used stolen computing power to mine crypto. So a federal grand jury indictment of a former Amazon software engineer accused of breaching Capital One's data servers reveals instance of cryptojacking at the heart of her scheme. Between March and July 2019, Paige Thompson accessed at least 30 institutions' servers managed by an unnamed cloud computing company comprising of at least 100 million customer accounts, according to a release published Wednesday. While there's no indication Thompson attempted to sell this information, she did use stolen computing power to mine crypto. According to the indictment, Thompson scanned for and misconfigured vulnerable web firewalls to gain access to rented cloud servers. She would duplicate sensitive buckets of data onto her own server kept at home and cover her tracks using the anonymizing Tor browser. The object also was to use the access to the customer's servers in other ways for her own benefit, including by using those servers for cryptojacking, wrote prosecuting attorneys. Thompson reportedly spoke about her fraud over Slack and Twitter DMs. At one point, Thompson, under an alleged pseudonym, posted messages referring to cryptojacking over a Slack channel. I'll be employed again soon, and if I had a partner, I could have them take over my cryptojacking enterprise and be a stay-at-home. One such message read, according to a report by Forbes. Another Slack message read, for some reason I lost a whole fleet of miners all at the same time. So I think someone is on to me. You think? Law enforcement became aware of Thompson's activity after she shared information on GitHub relating to her theft of information from Capital One's rented servers. The indictment also cites 3 unnamed victims, including a state agency, a telecommunications conglomerate outside the U.S., and a public research university. She faces up to 25 years in prison if found guilty of the charges, which includes 2 counts of wire fraud and computer fraud. Additionally, Thompson is asked to forfeit her ill-gotten gains or equivalent assets, or if inaccessible or untraceable. So, wow, 25 years for old Paige Thompson for basically probably mining Monero and stealing 100 million customers' data. I also read on a different article that it was like 100 million customer data from Capital One. So like whenever you actually went to apply for a credit card, so probably a lot of people that were already have credit cards that accounts with Capital One, but apparently it was like a lot of people who actually just attempted to apply to a credit card, like when you put in your name, your address, social, et cetera, et cetera. All that was stolen too. So your information was probably stolen by Paige Thompson, and mine too, because 100 million customer accounts is a lot. So moving on here. Now this isn't necessarily news, but this is the CME Group Bitcoin futures quotes. This is when the markets end temporarily, whereas the futures contracts expire, the monthly ones. And they typically expire right at the end of the month, like August 30th here. And October and updated August 30th. Anyway, they update August. So there was an expiration in August here. And it was a little bit ago. It was a few days ago now. And so some people were speculating that the dump in price was, sort of a mix between Bakkt futures coming and people dumping so that they can have more money to put to rebuy in essentially and put that money into Bakkt warehouse. And also CME futures, again, it is a paper trade. It's a fiat futures market. So there's no real Bitcoin going on. It's just gambling essentially to Bitcoin. But if you did have a bunch of Bitcoin and you dumped it and then right before the futures expired, essentially of CME, you would make quite a bit of Bitcoin, or quite a bit of money at the very least. So not only are you getting money from selling your Bitcoin when it's high and you dump it down to a lower price, your futures contracts, pick up that short and you get a whole bunch of money from it. So it makes total sense. So again, that's not the end date there, but CME futures probably responsible for a lot of dumps, to be totally honest. Like whenever the futures expire, there are probably people that sell off in order to fit their short or buy in to get the long. And again, all those futures came out like December 17th of 2017, and the price dumped right after that. So 9,500 Bitcoin. We're starting to move up just a little bit. We're kind of trading sideways-ish, but we're starting to recover some of those gains. Like Ethereum is up a couple bucks. Bitcoin is up just a little bit, maybe 100 or two. So we'll have to see if it continues dumping more. And also Bakkt futures. Is this going to lead to increased prices? But again, remember, it is a futures market. So there will be some people interested in dumping the price to short. And there will be some people interested in pumping the price to long. So it could go either way. So now, while it will take some Bitcoin out of the market, increase demand to some degree, is it going to be enough to really actually pump prices? Is this going to be coming from people's exchanges that will raise the price? Or is this all coming from the sort of the dark market, the off-market Bitcoin that people are selling, that groups are selling, that are now going to go on Bakkt? And it really doesn't have that much of an effect on the actual exchange prices. We'll have to see. So September 23rd, and I suppose give it a month after that or so to see if Bakkt actually has a real effect on the crypto market, good or bad. But that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you subscribe, like my social media in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And as usual, I will see you next time.